Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're diving into an ancient text from the epic Mahabharata, and honestly, it reads exactly like a modern superhero origin story. I'm talking about an era of just immense power and a ruler who could easily go toe-to-toe with any comic book Avenger you can think of. If you thought the whole superhuman archetype was a modern invention, well, these ancient records are absolutely going to change your perspective.
But before we even get into the specifics of these ancient texts and the characters involved, I want you to ask yourself a question. What does a perfect world actually look like? Just imagine, for a second, a society utterly devoid of our modern struggles. No crushing daily labor, no anxiety about the future, no economic downturns. We're constantly striving for this today, right? But thousands of years ago, they didn't just strive for it. They documented a time when it literally existed.
Our source material today is actually framed by a very specific request. King Janamejaya asks a wise sage to recount his legendary dynasty's origin story right from the very beginning. It's basically the ancient equivalent of asking for the ultimate prequel, and man, the sage does not disappoint. He kicks things off with an absolutely unbelievable founder.
Section 1. The Paurava line. Enter King Dushmanta.
So, the sage introduces King Dushmanta as the absolute founder of this lineage, and to really get him, we have to look at his staggering geopolitical influence. Dushmanta wasn't just some local king. The text describes him as the protector of the earth, holding sway over the 4 quarters of the world and all these various island regions. His unquestioned authority even extended out to the countries of the Mlichkas, which were essentially the absolute fringes of the known world. He was, without a doubt, the undisputed global sovereign.
Section 2. An ancient utopia, a world without work or worry.
Now, Dushmanta's massive kingdom wasn't just big. The conditions inside it were completely surreal. I mean, they totally defy human history. Just look at these realities. Manual agricultural labor, completely obsolete because the earth just naturally yielded produce on its own. There were no miners because the surface literally freely yielded its wealth. And because of this effortless abundance, there was zero fear of thieves, zero fear of famine, and amazingly, no fear of disease. It was literally a world without work, scarcity, or worry. How wild is that? And this perfection wasn't just an earthly thing. The cosmos literally cooperated with Dushmanta's reign. Parjanya, also known as the mighty Indra, the deity of rain and storms, played a super crucial role here. In this utopia, the weather was never a destructive force. Parjanya poured showers at the exact proper time every single time. It's like they had perfect climate control. Because of this divine synchronization, the text specifically notes that the produce of the fields was always pulpy and juicy. The earth was just overflowing with wealth.
Because the environment was so perfectly providing, the social fabric was, well, absolutely flawless. The text states, all were virtuous and did everything from virtuous motives. There were 0 men of mixed castes and 0 sinful men. The Brahmanas were always truthful, always engaged in their duties. Everyone took absolute pleasure in doing exactly what they were supposed to do. And get this, they never performed religious acts just to get selfish things. They did it out of pure virtue. His subjects depended entirely on him and entertained absolutely no fear whatsoever.
Section 3. The superhero king, an ancient avenger.
Okay, so a utopia like this obviously requires a protector of unbelievable magnitude. Dushmanta wasn't just a cunning politician or some general sitting safely in a tent. He was an indestructible physical force. The ancient record describes him as a youthful monarch with a physical frame literally hard as the thunderbolt. He was essentially a living weapon, totally immune to normal human vulnerabilities.
To give you a real sense of his god-tier power, just look at these feats of strength. The text states that Dushmanta was capable of taking up the mountain Mandara. Yes, an entire mountain, fully loaded with all its forests and bushes, and just supporting it on his arms. We're talking about strength on a planetary scale here. This is the exact kind of imagery we see today when comic book heroes lift falling buildings, right? But this was written thousands of years ago.
But he wasn't just a brute lifting mountains. He was a master tactician, too. The texts break down his absolute superiority in mace warfare into 4 distinct encounters. Hurling it like a missile from afar, striking in close hand-to-hand combat, whirling it devastatingly for crowd control, and systematically driving the foe before him. Basically, he was a one-man army.
And his expertise definitely didn't stop at the mace. The ancient text explicitly points out that he was highly skilled in the use of all kinds of weapons. Whatever the battlefield required, he mastered it. Plus, He was an expert rider, effortlessly commanding both massive war elephants and horses into battle. He completely dominated the physical realm, the tactical realm, and the martial realm. The whole shebang.
If we were to look at King Dushmanta's superhero stats, it's pretty incredible. His core traits map directly to the ultimate divine and natural forces of the universe. In strength, he was compared directly to Vishnu. In splendor, he shone like the maker of day, the sun itself. His gravity was likened to the vast ocean. And his patience? Well, that was as enduring as the earth itself.
Section 4. The Ideal Leader's Legacy. What this myth means for us.
The absolutely crucial takeaway here is what these ancient descriptions tell us about human nature. Across thousands of years, humanity has always craved stability and an invincible protector. But the ultimate legacy of Dushmanta's mountain-lifting power and all that utopian abundance was actually incredibly simple. As the text concludes, "And the monarch was loved by all his subjects, and he ruled his contented people virtuously." It wasn't tyranny, it was a completely fearless society united by pure love for a virtuous ruler.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. Looking at King Dushmanta and his amazing utopian world without labor, theft, or disease, does a perfect, flawless society create the conditions for a perfect, godlike leader to emerge? Or does the sheer power, virtue, and perfection of the leader forge the society into a utopia? In the epic story of humanity, which one truly comes first? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the ancient texts. Keep wondering, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.